What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with a live stream after a very long weekend. Of course, it's Comic-Con weekend, New York Comic-Con wrapping up. Today's the last day. I believe that the event's on for another hour or so, another hour, 5 o'clock, and then it's a wrap. But very long weekend filled with a lot of cool things, a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of people in the community at the Thursday night party, the Friday night party. And then I spent yesterday at the Javits Center. I'm from New York, so I didn't have to fly across the country or from another country, which many people did, which was really, it's always amazing to me to watch these things play out and go to events and see people from Germany, from England, from all over, the world coming together in the middle of a bear market, right? Super. It was a lot of fun. Thursday night was fun. I brought my wife to the event on Friday, and she was reluctant. She wasn't really looking forward to it because she doesn't know anyone there. She thought she'd be a third wheel, and she didn't know what to expect, but she had a really good time. And I think now she's know me, homie. She's going to come back next year. She said she's down to come back next year. We're going to run it again. She wants to go to the event in France just to get a trip to France out of it. But, yeah, Dive Jedi says, can you stop moving back and forth? No promises, Dive. So really an amazing weekend. I want to talk about it. Talk about the Coffeezilla video, which finally dropped. That's been months in the making. I did a live stream on it a couple months back with Foster, with Hodler, and I think Doctor of Stuff were on that one. We did a live stream just talking about what to expect, and now that video finally dropped. So I'm going to get to that a little later. But let's see who we got up in here. First in was Dive Jedi. What's good, Dive? Crazy Dan 420 in the house, reminding everyone to smash the like button. Thank you, Crazy Dan. Jomi in the house. Good to see you, buddy. His friend from Germany. I'm glad I can do these 4 o'clock streams. Try to do them at 4 o'clock on weekends so that I can interact with people in Europe. I know it's a little late there, but it's not that late. Dive Jedi says I was making him seasick. I'm going to stop moving, Dive Jedi. Cool Mo had an opportunity to meet Cool Mo. Great time, great guy. Amazing to meet these people that I've interacted with on Twitter or in the comment section of these videos, to get to meet you guys in real life and put a face and story to the name. So amazing. Yes, Danny, big man. Greetings from the UK. What's good, UK? We got Creperie Banana in the house. What's up? We got Russ in the house. We got NTTX in the house. Good evening. I love golf. Good morning to you. 10 p.m. here in Netherlands and Germany. So great. Yeah, try to squeeze some in a little early, specifically for you guys. But the parties were really amazing. If you've never been to a VEVE event and you can get to one, I recommend, doing it. I know it's very expensive for a lot of people, and I'm hoping that they spread out over time so it becomes more accessible. It'll be great to have that one in France for a lot of people in Europe. They can get to it a bit easier. I went to the one in Decon last year, Anaheim, and this was my second one. I didn't hit up, even though I'm from New York, I missed out on last year's parties and events because the Mets were in the postseason and I had tickets. So I chose my Mets over because you never know when they're going to get into the playoffs again. So I went to the game instead of the party. But I got to meet a lot of cool people that I've been wanting to meet. VEVE Viral was there, Pags, Dr. Prophet, Ali, and so many people, and so many of you guys in the chat. So it was really amazing. And like I said, What's interesting about it all is the enthusiasm in the middle of a bear market, right? A lot of vault values are down. We've been through a lot of, FUD and negative sentiment, and it's hard to get through a bear market and to see, well over 200 people, at an event in the middle of a bear market makes me excited for a bull market. Give us that New York Comic-Con alpha. I tried to get some stuff. I didn't get much. I did ask Dan Crothers was there, and I was chatting with him a bit. And I tried to get out of him if this Funko thing would be a one-off or an ongoing partnership. And he wouldn't bite. I even circled back to later in the night, thinking maybe he had a couple drinks in him and stuff. So I tried to catch him when he was vulnerable. But he wouldn't bite. But I'm sure. So the guy from Funko, the owner of Funko, was there on Thursday night, and his name is Mike Becker. He's the founder of Funko. He was up on stage on Thursday night. They did a preview or reveal of the Iron Man Funko, and they gave one out to someone and limited one to someone in the crowd. But the fact that he was there on Friday night and it felt like a big deal leads me to believe that partnership with Funko is not going to be a one-time deal. I think it's going to be recurring. I think every once in a while we'll get a Funko VEVE, hybrid drop, which I think is really amazing for a couple of reasons. Because one, it gets them further into the physical space, right, through Fidgetals, and helps build brand awareness. And two, it's another revenue stream, right? And you see all these companies not making it through a bear market because they're running out of financial runway. And anytime you can create new revenue streams, especially in a difficult financial time, I think it's a big win. So I'm interested to see how the Funko drop performs if it sells out. I'm pretty sure it will sell out. I have people, reaching out to me asking if I can get it for them because it's not accessible for them. So there seems to be a lot of interest around it. It's a historic one. It's the first VEVE Funko drop, and that's dropping in just a few days. But I don't think it's going to be a one-time deal. And I do think that over time, I think that the short-term implications of it may not, it's not going to move the needle in terms of onboarding new users immediately. But I think that over time, building out that brand awareness and onboarding potential Funko collectors into VEVE and transitioning them over the long haul is a smart play. And it's kind of a natural fit because of the demographics are the same, right? In terms of pop culture and chasing items and things like that. These are real collectors. And I went to so at Comic-Con, I was particularly observing Funko people, right? And there are a lot of them. There are a ton of Funko booths on display and a lot of people chasing things and looking for things. Now, what's interesting is that Funko is kind of, they're on I guess they're bigger, obviously, than VEVE, and they've been around longer, and they have a stronger foundation and more traction and years behind them. But they're kind of, in the same boat in terms of the market and how the market has affected them. So similar to VEVE, during the bull market, and I went over this in my last video, I think, Funko Pops became massively popular, right? Prices went up a lot. And afterwards, once liquidity dried up, similar to many areas, the NFT bubble and whatever, now hundreds of Funko Pops are found at a landfill, right? After news that $35 million worth would be destroyed. So that speaks to me in that, when we look at the vault values and across the whole spectrum, across this whole industry, digital collectibles dropping in value, it's also in conjunction with physical collectibles. And you're seeing the same thing play out across multiple arenas and different places, right? It's not limited to VeVe. So it's interesting, but Funko is alive and well and very strong, heavily represented at New York ComicCon. A lot of booths with a lot of Funko Pops and people. I saw people, going to these booths for their chase pieces. My daughter was one of them. She chases after Stranger Things, specific Stranger Things Funkos. So we were on the prowl for those. But back to the main point, I think that Funko is a natural partner for VeVe. And the fact that Mike Becker was there on Thursday night on stage, and it was a Funko / VeVe event, tells me that this isn't a one-time thing. And, that's what I want to see in the middle of a bear market. You want to see these partnerships. You want to see building happening. And so I like that a lot. From Netherlands to Dive Jedi, another person in the Netherlands right here. Did I see Dan and Dave and Reese? I did. I saw all of them. I saw Alex. I chatted with Dan. David, I don't think knows who I am. Every time I meet him, there's no recognition. So I don't, but Dan knew who I was and came up to me. And I asked him how it was going in the middle of bear market, and he seemed very optimistic. Tried to get some information about the VeVe-verse and stuff. But all he said was that there are great things coming for the VeVe-verse. He did speak to My Collectibles. If you saw that, there was a short that My Collectibles put out where My Collectibles asked him about the timeline of VeVe-verse, and Dan said that they are just looking to finalize their last assets, and then they're going to open up VeVe-verse for about 500 to 1,000 more users. So it's frustrating waiting, and we've been waiting for a long time, and they released the beta version. I want to say that was like maybe 6 weeks ago or even 2 months ago. All right, but they are still making progress. I do have faith that it's going to get out hopefully relatively soon, and I'm very confident about the VeVe-verse and from what I hear from people, and I do think that it's going to bring utility to all of these collectibles and give us a purpose. So on stage at New York Comic-Con, they did. You could see it on Twitter. They posted the video of them of Captain America, like using Captain America in AR, and there were a decent amount of people there. But, that sort of thing, AR, it gets old fast, right? I mean, it's limited use. The real use case for these collectibles and the real utility, I think, comes through the interaction within the VeVe-verse and setting them up and building and interacting with each other. Because think about the community is so strong that people coming from all over the country for these events. Think about the interactions on a daily basis when you have the VeVe-verse with, you're throwing creativity in the mix. You're throwing things like Twitter Spaces, but in the VeVe-verse, and live viewing parties and all these things that people will be able to do. So I didn't get much out of Dan, but My Collectibles got that piece out of him. I did talk to Reese. It was great to see Reese also, because I feel like that kind of dispels the narrative that, Reese is hiding or Reese is on his way out. And even I kind of speculated about that when he did that podcast with VeVe Vantage, who I met the VeVe Vantage guys, great guys. Will Goes Meta, Mr. V. They did that interview with David, and a lot of speculation came out of it about, is Reese on his way out? Reese is not on his way out. He was there. He was at both live events. He was at the con on Saturday. I got to see him there also. So it was great talking to him. And I talked to Alex for a while. I talked to Ryan. It was just great to connect with everyone. So super bullish. Let me get back into this chat What's good, Big Oz? We got Slider. I hope they do one in Florida. Yeah, that would be good. I think the next, so I don't think that Decon Anaheim is in the cards. But from what I hear, France is next, and that's in January. So that's good for the European community. What I like about the one in France is that I believe it's a crypto convention. And that is, bullish for Omi. And that also dispels the notion that they don't care about Omi, right? If they do that crypto convention, Omi will be front and center there. I don't know much about it. I tried to do some research. I couldn't find too much, but that's supposedly in January. I guess we'll be hearing more information about it. Taps Trades was not there. He's good. From what Taps Trades has been busy. He's been having a lot going on in his life. From what I hear, last I spoke to him was, I want to say about a year ago. I met him in Anaheim in Decon. He had already been a little off the radar, but he was super bullish. He still had his goals to meet in terms of Omi and VEVE. And I believe he will be back to making content sometime when his life calms down a bit. Kumo says the parties were amazing. Got back to the hotel at 2 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. Wow. Yeah. So the parties were really amazing. And I got to meet, where is he? I see him in the chat. Mark. Yeah, I got to meet my boy Mark Hunt in the house. He can confirm that Danny is even cooler in person. It was great to meet you, Mark. Great talking. And really great to meet and, again, put faces to Twitter handles and meet all these people that I've been interacting with for quite some time. And that were only the people who could make it to the real event. Correct. A lot of us can't make the trip. And so that's another thing. Another thing that struck me was it's easy to get caught up in price action and online sentiment. There are so many people who are just doing their thing, enjoying collecting, and they're not as vocal online. I met a couple people who I chatted with for quite some time on Thursday night. One of them is a big comic collector. They both talked about how, they're still very active. They still are holding strong and collecting for the long haul. And one of them was also a physical comic collector. And he talked about how hard it is for some of his physical collecting friends are hesitant to get into VEVE still, or are hesitant to get into the digital side of things. A lot of that is due to, the headlines. When people see the whole NFT sector crash and headlines like NFTs are going to zero, there's a strong stigma attached to the whole space. And that stigma can only be dispelled through a market turn, right? That, a resurgence in markets and a resurgence and a comeback in the market that gives it credibility for the long haul. And then I think you get some of these physical collectors on board. But another bullish thing, and I haven't been live for a while, is I love the physical VEVE covers. I wasn't at the con Thursday and Friday, so I wasn't sure if there'd be any of these Superior Spider-Mans left, but my homie Michael Campa was nice enough, great community member, know him from Twitter, was nice enough to gift me some Superior Spider-Man returns. I got this one signed by David Yu on Friday night, and I made a mistake because I meant to have him sign the Virgin cover, and I thought he was signing the Virgin cover. But it's all good. I got a signature on there. Big shout out and thank you to Michael Campa, who gifted me these, because I wasn't sure there'd be any left on Saturday. And there were just a few no Virgins were left. No, the only ones that were left were these. There were just a few. And most of them, they were nearly sold out. And I think they did sell out for sure on Saturday. But I think that's also a way to onboard physical collectors, is to create excitement through these physical drops. And when Sleeping Comics was in the comments of Nakomiverse episode last week, he said that 2 or 3 people had reached out to him to ask him about those Spider-Man comics. So, you know, as the demand for those on like eBay and now in the secondary market and the physical world ramps up, this is when you see the VeVe brand becoming viable, and not only the digital marketplace, but also in the physical marketplace. And then hopefully that's the whole point of Fidgetals, right? Is that you get that cross breeding between the two, the physical and the digital, and you onboard new people. So I love that strategy. I love the fact that they are pairing up with indie comic creators. I got to meet the Addiction team, and thank you again. Michael Campa gifted me a couple of the Addictions signed by the whole team and the artist. Only, you know, VeVe's one of the only places, I think, and I'm not very familiar with the indie comic scene, but I go to these events all the time. I go to, you know, small con events, New York ComicCon, and I see indie comic booths, and most of the time they're empty. And, you know, the creators are sitting there looking for traction, looking for interest, and there's not much because people don't know about them. But the Addiction was able to not only sell out on the digital side, but I was able to buy the 9.8 graded of this variant, and they only had a few left. The blue were completely sold out. These were, I think, $95 each. So they sold out the blues graded, and the reds were close to being sold out. And I asked the team what it was like, and they said it was amazing that on Thursday there was a line wrapped around, you know, the corner of all VeVe collectors there to buy up their product. And that speaks to me in that I can see VeVe being a go-to place for a lot of these indie comic creators to tap into this vibrant, passionate community. So, you know, long term, I think that these are all bullish developments, but I think it's going to take time to play out. And I think that it's going to be it's going to be in conjunction with the market turning, that I don't think we're going to see a lot of this traction, right? We talk about in my last video, or a couple of videos ago, I talked about how the user base has been on a steady decline, active wallets, etc. But when I see that, that's in alignment with the rest of the space. When you look at ETH wallets on OpenSea, when you look at McFarlane Digital, when you look at Palm, you're seeing a decrease in digital collecting across the board. And that's, to me, more of a macro thing. I think that these steps that VeVe is now taking is putting them in position to get more success once the market turns and liquidity pours back in. And I do think that's going to happen. I think it'll be tied to crypto. I think what we're going to see, and I speak to people about this all the time, I think that what we're going to see is when the crypto market rebounds, specifically OMI rebounds, you're going to see people take profits from crypto to digital assets, and then you're going to see an arbitrage taking place. And that will give people who have been on the sidelines and nervous conviction and confidence to get their feet wet again and get back into this digital collectible space. And over time, it becomes normal and battle tested, right? And the community becomes battle tested, and the people who have doubts about whether or not this whole thing is a viable asset class or a viable category of collecting, over time, that's what I think happens, but time will tell. Let me get back into the chat and see, before I show off a couple of other things that I picked up at Comic-Con. Were there Funko fam also, or VeVe? So yeah, I think there were also Funko people there. who worked for the company, although I don't know them because I don't know them. But if the founder was there, and they gave away Funko Pops also to gold logo holders. So that was part of the gift bags for people who have gold and silver logos. So again, I think that's going to be a strong partnership moving forward. I think Funko's going. I think Funko sees the demand or sees the passion of the VeVe community. And to me, if I were Funko, and these are now $150 a pop, right? It's also the first of its kind in terms of size. I think they're like 18 inches or whatever. So if I'm Funko and I'm seeing that sort of response, how do I not continue that partnership? Right. And so it's going to be interesting. SoCal coming in late. So like 39th. What's good, SoCal? What's up, Planet Profit in the house? Where's my exit liquidity? Jojo, it's going to come around maybe in a year and a half. Marvel sponsored YouTube video. Yes. I'm going to get to that Marvel sponsored video. You're starting to see, so Marvel, if you didn't see it, there was a video that they posted specifically about VeVe. Maybe I'll pull it up now that you mentioned it. You're messing up my order here, SoCal. Let me pull it up. I had bookmarked that tweet. This is not it, is it? I'm going to get to all this stuff. Here it is. Sorry, let me get my screens right. So Marvel tweeted this out, looking for officially licensed digital collectibles to add to your collection. VeVe official took to Marvel New York ComicCon stage to teach fans how to sign up for the app and land collectible comic drops. This is an ad, right? This is an advertisement by Marvel for VeVe. As of now, and this came out yesterday. Today's the 15th, right? So it's been out less than 24 hours. It's got over 250,000 views, over 1,000 likes, over 270 retweets. And sure, many of those are from VeVe fans, right? The retweets, the likes. But again, it's about long-term exposure. And, you know, in the world of advertising, they talk about the rule of, I believe it's 7, and how it takes 7 times people get exposed to a product before they actually want to buy it. When it comes to a nascent technology, that's a paradigm shift in terms of collecting. It's even more than 7. So anytime you have one of the biggest brands in the world selling your stuff to people, it creates, great exposure. And, I was there and someone walked by, and the VeVe team, someone walked up to them and asked them, "Oh, have you heard of VeVe?" Because they were like kind of like just looking. And the people said, yeah, they heard of it, but they had never downloaded the app, but they did hear of it. And then they downloaded the app and they checked it out. So it's great to see Marvel, advertising for VeVe. And Patient Hodler, I bookmarked his retweet of this because it's something that I totally agree with. This Marvel tweet with and about VeVe goes out to over 18 million followers, right? That's how many followers Marvel has on Twitter. The magnitude of this partnership is difficult to fathom. Don't get blinded by liquidity-driven short-term downside. And I totally agree with this. I think that, we've talked about some of the missteps that VeVe has made over the last, since their inception, and things that they could have done better. But I think that the overall downturn is a macro one. It's due to liquidity in the whole space. And it's important to be mindful of that, right? And once liquidity comes back, I think you're going to see things happen. Also, from Louboutin, head to Tokyo's wherever to experience a one-of-a-kind 3D installation celebrating. So this is another advertisement from them talking about the Marvel and VeVe partnership. And I think I saw this was from Corey. There we see VeVe. A lot of people talking about how VeVe isn't mentioned in this ad, but here we see that it is. The logo is right there, associated again with Marvel and one of the top fashion brands in the world. So it's good to see this sort of marketing coming through. Again, I don't expect to see major shift. It's not going to move the needle in the short term, but long term, I think this is what we want. Russ says, time to stick a QR code on the side of a McDonald's Happy Meal. Yeah, it'd be amazing. Indeed, big partnership. Dan, so no, I landed a common. Let me know how you guys did on the X-Men drop. I did land, but I got a common. So it failed for me the first few times. The purchase wasn't going through. And on my fourth attempt to purchase, it went through. I got delivered a common. I'll take whatever I can get. I was hoping for a secret rare. Yes, Reese is still with VeVe. I will tell David who you are. Thank you. I appreciate that. David is actually, and I can leak this because, is Jordan here? He sometimes is in the chat. But I think David is tentatively scheduled to come on a Comiverse at some point. So be on the lookout for that. That's on Jordan Riz's channel, but we all simulcast it. When whoever's on there simulcast it. So hopefully I'll get to talk to David on there. Yeah, MCP. So now when I saw that waitlist fail today, and it failed under the strain of, I guess, all the people trying to access it on the original drop day, it shows us that the waitlist still is buggy. It's not perfected, which leads me to believe that we're not ready for MCP yet, because they said that they'd have to fix the waitlist. That's their priority. And then MCP comes after. So VeVeVerse is 1 year behind from last year. Decon, correct. 40% of assets haven't been converted to non-NFT models, no economy, no gamification, and limited. So it is correct. VeVeVerse is behind on their development. And when you deal with VeVe, you have to take into account, or you have to accept the fact that their tech moves slow. And so for me, ultimately is, do they get it done? And as long as they get it done and do it well, then I'll be satisfied. It's frustrating to wait for, the rollouts and to get access to things, but long-term, they usually deliver. Manchester United still have assets on GoChain, correct. Omi is not my homie anymore. We can get to, so let's get to that, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Let me unshare this. So Coffeezilla, we can talk about this. The Coffeezilla video finally dropped on Saturday, and that's something that everyone's been waiting to see, whether or not he would drop it, what he would say about Omi, how bad it would be, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on it. So first and foremost, if you didn't see it, it's basically about Logan Paul and some other guy. I forget his name. Both, have been accused of scamming, and Coffeezilla has documented it in multiple videos. And he's got kind of this ongoing vendetta against Logan Paul. And that's how Omi got pulled into this. So he was talking about who's the biggest scammer between the two of them. And I would say it's like a 10-minute video, and 6 minutes of it is focused on Omi. So it's never good to be associated with a pump and dump. And that's what he says that Logan Paul was associated with a pump and dump alongside Ben. We all know who Ben is, right? Ben Gadenzi. And talked about how Logan asked for discounted Omi received it from Ben, allegedly, talked about Omi on that now famous video where he talked about the Omi token and Pokemon, and he acted like it was some spontaneous thing. And then the price of Omi, it did that thing where it went up a lot. And then he sold into that, right? And they sold into that. And so that's a pump and dump. It's never good to be associated with something like that. Especially crypto has a negative connotation associated with it already. And a lot of people view it as scammy, whatever. So it's never good for people's first impression of Omi to be in association with a pump and dump. However, that's the bad part of it. And I acknowledge that. And I believe that that wasn't, that's not a positive thing. However, he didn't say anything negative about the token itself. He didn't talk about the current team members. The person who was associated with the team is now gone from the team, and they're actually adversaries or in it, right? Or allegedly they're, I don't know. Ben says that he still talks to David. It's weird. But they're engaged in a lawsuit, a second lawsuit. So the person associated with the pump and dump is gone from the team. And perhaps this Coffeezilla video hurts Ben Gadenzi and his lawsuit. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. It's never good to be associated with something like that. However, long term, I don't think that it will necessarily matter. I think that what matters is fundamentals and execution. And so long as VeVe is successful, then Omi will be successful if they do what they set out to do. And if that happens, the token's going to be fine. It's going to do what a lot of people expect it to do. And the Coffeezilla video and everything that came with it will be a footnote in Omi's history. All right. Now, if for some reason they don't deliver, things don't go as planned, then that, that pump and dump thing will maybe play into its narrative and story more. But if you look at any crypto chart, they all look the same. Any altcoin, you get that big, look at ApeCoin, you get that big pump up and you get the big dump down. You look at even Solana last cycle was pumped with VC money and people called it a pump and dump. VC, rich venture capitalists pouring money into it, and FTX pumping it and allegedly using people as exit liquidity. So, the pump and dump narrative plays along with a lot, unfortunately, with a lot of this space. It's a new space. It's very easy for big money to get ahead of a cycle, pump things up, and use people as exit liquidity. And the longer that you're in the space, the more you're able to recognize it in real time. But, they showed the Omi chart at the end of the video and talked about how it was down 98, 99%. But make no mistake, every alt from last cycle is down the same. If you look at Gala, look at Sand, look at Mana, look at ApeCoin, they all have a very similar chart. So to me, that doesn't really say anything. And, it's, again, I'm not happy that Omi is associated with Logan Paul in that way. But long term, I don't think that it matters as long as they execute. And that was, a year and a half ago now. And so those are my thoughts on that. But, Chris Coffee, where is he? He had a good take. He had a very similar take. And he hasn't been as active in, let me share it. He tweeted this out today. Chris hasn't been as active in Omi and VeVe because he's into a lot of different projects and covers a lot of things now. But he's still following it and he's still very knowledgeable. All right. And his tweet reads, I don't talk about Omi often anymore. Let's just get to the stuff. he talks about how there are two sides that have developed in terms of Omi. Side one, there's some superiority complex, thinking that they are smarter and the coin will go to zero. So you hear a lot of people talk about this and talk about things like the Logan Paul thing and other things and disparaging the token. Side two, he talks about people who say that the team can do no wrong. And the long and short of what he says is that Okomi still shows up. This is a space where there are really a lot of rugs, right? There's a lot of scammy people in crypto. However, the Okomi team still shows up. They're still building. VeVe is still building. They still show their face. They still post updates, even though it's at a slower pace. A lot of other tokens have totally disappeared. But it is clear that Logan pumped the token, right? And he sold it off. So it needs to be acknowledged that that happened. However, to characterize it as the be-all and end-all is short-sighted and diminishes what they're building and the whole project. And this is, at the end of the day, in the middle of a bear market, they have partnered with Funko. They have strengthened their partnership with Marvel. They got the fashion thing, Louis Vuitton. It's hard for me to pronounce. They have all these things, and that's just in the last week or so, heading into Fidgetals in the middle of a bear market, still building. So fundamentals will play out over time. And if VeVe is successful and they continue to build on Omi, the whole Coffeezilla thing will just be a footnote in the narrative. All right. Not to say that it didn't happen. It happened. We should learn from it and recognize it in other projects or even, in the whole space. Those are my thoughts on the Coffeezilla thing. Let's see what else. Let me get back into the chat here. Dive Jedi says David and Dan will be there. Probably also Reese. SoCal, what's special about NFT event in France when they are DNFTing and blockchaining everything? Make Web 2. So yeah, they are a little more Web 2 than Web 3. But I don't know if that matters. I think that, well, it matters to certain people. It matters a lot, right? I think that most of their success is built off the fact that they are Web 2.5, probably Web 2.2, right? The ease of use, the ease of onboarding, the app. So hopefully long-term, they introduce things like self-custody and get more towards that Web 3 side. Dave and Dan are keynote speakers there. It's a crypto event. Yeah. So again, super dope to see them putting crypto front and center. Mish in the house. Great to see you. Great to see you too, buddy. Thursday night was awesome. My voice is hurting from this weekend. No real, this is in reference to the Coffeezilla thing. No real damage done. Flash in the pan. Who takes a man who wears braces? Does Coffeezilla wear braces? I didn't notice that. Hi. How are the Marvel fans who aren't yet in VeVe responding? What was there? So from what I saw, I did see a couple people getting signed in and signed up. But a lot of people just walk by and they look. So I think for the majority of people, they're still not ready to transition or get onboarded. Living Aloha posted, let me see if I bookmarked this. So, yeah. He said that VeVe got 22 more active wallets, new active wallets on the 14th. So you see that there's a bit of an uptick in active wallets from the con. And I think during the middle of a bear market, it's boots to the ground. You're not going to get thousands of people onboarded, right, in the middle of a bear market. You've got to be boots to the ground and, one at a time, continue to add people. Of those 22, maybe 30, if 33% of them stick it out and stick around, that's a success. If they were able to onboard 22 a day for a year, that's about 8,000 people, right, over the course of a year. Now, of course, in a bear market, it's not going to happen. But little by little, onboarding one person at a time until the market. So I think that once the market turns, the people who are on the side of like, well, anything digital is scammy, anything crypto, anything NFT. There are a lot of people who still think that Bitcoin's a Ponzi, right? It's amazing to me how many people still think that they're still afraid of Bitcoin. It shows you how far off we are from digital collecting. I anticipate it going in cycles for, a good 12 years. Like the first 10, 20 years of the digital collecting experience, I think is going to be cyclical, and you're going to have a lot of volatility. And if you're in it and you're in it for the money, I would expect that same volatility with more risk than, alts and things like that. It's so nascent. It's such a paradigm shift. It takes decades for these things to, take a real foothold in society. If you look at, card collecting in the 40s and 50s and 60s, people were throwing them out. The first Mickey Mantle rare card is rare because they were destroyed, because no one cared about them. It took decades for and really from the big boom was in first in the 80s, right? In the card collecting industry. So that's a good more than half a century after cards came out. And that's not to say that they didn't have credibility or there wasn't an uptick, but that real boom, it's called the wax card era. They started printing millions and millions and millions of cards because people were going crazy. And then they crashed. And people left the card industry for years. And it wasn't until the last 10 years, really, there's been a resurgence in the card industry. I only say that to make note or a comparison to, you have to have a long time frame for things. And for collectibles specifically, what creates value is nostalgia and time. And we're in this time and space where we want everything now. We buy something, we want it to go up in value. But that's not the reality of how the industry works. It's built off of nostalgia and time. And so my expectation is for there to be a lot of volatility, for us to get cycles where it's hot and things go up in value a lot, and then possibly dump off again. And you're going to see narratives play out where people wonder if it's a scam or if it's viable or whatever. But this is what I think long term. Now, will digital collecting take hold and become a thing? I think it will, especially as more utilities introduced. And I'm not talking about getting stuff for free utility. I'm talking about interacting. AR, VR, Apple Vision Pro, VeVeVerse. And right now, VeVe is at the forefront of the space. And VeVe is tiny compared to, traditional companies and big companies. They're tiny. If you look at McFarlane Digital, they have a fraction of VeVe's users. Palm, all of these other companies, Cryptoys, They're all feeding off of the VeVe community, really, right? They're trying to. This is the base for all these other companies. So it's so tiny still and so small, which makes it a risky proposition long term, right? You can't discount that. But I like what VeVe's doing in the middle of a bear market. Not only do they have all of these partnerships, and not everything is selling out lately, and I don't agree with how the edition sizes they create, and I've talked about that a lot. Some things I think they can do better. It's easy for me to say as a Monday morning quarterback, but that's my thought and my opinions. But you look at today's drop, X-Men. I think there were 10,000 of them sold out at $20 each instantly, $200,000. You look at that Addiction drop, sold out within an hour or so, not immediately, but within an hour, and then sold out the physicals. You look at the physical Spider-Man stuff that they dropped. So they could do things better, but my belief is they are building in the bear market, and that's exactly what I want to see. If now the space, in order for the thesis to hold weight and be true, the space needs to become legitimate. Digital collecting needs to become what we all expect it will, and VeVe needs to keep producing, meet their timelines a little better, and we'll see. Let me get back in the chat. We got 75 people up in here. Hit the like button. Don't let David deflower your virgin. I'm really upset he didn't deflower it. Danny, I'm invited to a wedding tomorrow. It's time for bed. Good night, buddy. See you, Jomi. One day, hopefully, I'll be able to meet you in person. Good morning. Blase? I don't know. How do you spell that? Just pronounce that. SoCal, VeVe did 7 drops at New York ComicCon with massively reduced editions. Sold out a non-NFT comic. Sold out a private label comic. Marvel drops sold 15%. Big comic drop glitched. Correct. And was botted. Tokidoki sold 85%. So, correct. And I wish that, so what I would want from them is to reduce their edition sizes or reduce their prices to entice people to buy more. They have already reduced their edition sizes. Now, the question is this the result of VeVe not executing, or is it the result of the overall market? And my belief is that it's the result of the overall market and a whole malaise. That's how you pronounce the word, right? Malaise in the market. And we see that across the board when you look at other companies. Look at Yuga. They just cut off 50% of their staff. Yuga is the biggest name in Web3, just fired 50% of their staff. I know people who bought quotas for $20,000 this cycle and have held them. They're down to about 10,000 or so. I don't know what they are now. I saw the stats of, let me see if I can pull it up. I think it's in last week's, if I can find it again. ETH's active wallets. Look at it. This looks eerily similar to what we're seeing across the board. So the question is, and SoCal asks, good one, is it the result of, VeVe missteps or poor execution, or is it the result of a macro condition and no liquidity in the space? And my belief is that it's a result of no liquidity in the space, and that once the market turns, and there are a lot of people, so I'm not buying a lot of digital collectibles. And I'm the target audience for VeVe. I'm not heavy on buying VeVe stuff because I'm so heavy on buying crypto. And what happens after the halving when crypto pumps again, and I still, follow VeVe and love VeVe and love these like the look of a lot of these collectibles and want them, but just aren't buying them. And now all of a sudden, hopefully I'll have a lot of money, discretionary money. It doesn't take a lot of that money to flow back into this system that is still so small, right? What are there, even if you get like another 20, 30,000 active wallets on VeVe, you're going to see drastic change in buying. So my expectation is that we're going to see more of, like, the chart's going to look like more like this. I think VeVe's going to have a hard time selling out anything that's not highly sought after. And it's going to look dismal. I do think that they could adjust and there are things that they could do better. But my expectation is the next 6 months or so will continue to be dismal until markets turn and there's a shift. So the thing about a bear market in altcoins, NFTs, whatever, you first have to survive it. And that's the goal of every project during a bear market, is to survive the bear market and just be there for the next round. The second rule is build during the bear market so that you're fundamentally stronger. And so when I look at VeVe, will they survive? Yeah, they're going to survive. Are they building? They're building a lot during the bear market. So it's what I like to see. It's not great to see, 85% of supply sitting on the shelf. But I like that also because it shows that people's buying habits have changed and they're not buying things that they don't really have a desire for. But, is McFarlane failing? The Batmobile didn't sell out. The Batmobile is one of the most recognizable, vehicles, maybe the most. That was an icon. That's a huge drop. It's FA on blockchain, on like Web3, like self-custody. All these things that a lot of people in VeVe have complained about that VeVe doesn't have. Self-custody, pending interoperability, on-chain, because there's that whole debate. So McFarlane is, quote unquote, more Web3. They dropped Batmobile and they couldn't sell 1,000 of them. So is that a McFarlane problem, or is that the result of the whole space and a liquidity problem? I think it's the whole space, and we'll see. If the market turned and NFTs were off and running again, and VeVe were not selling out or doing 85%, I would be concerned. If the market conditions were different, I'd be now challenging my thesis, right? But I don't think that's the case. I think that VeVe has executed pretty well during this bear market. We know that they've been super slow to deliver. A lot of that has to do with their tech debt and their early missteps in terms of what they were building. And they had to play catch up. But those are my thoughts. Let me get back into this chat. VeVe Whales in the house. What's good, fam? SoCal, big money, Marvel filled, and the private artists sold out. Yeah. So I think it's harder for them to onboard people, or they have to, I guess, assess where they get the most bang for their buck. And I'm guessing that decon isn't it. Especially with, it's only weeks away from the crypto thing in January. So, and then also consider what they have going on in terms of their partnerships. So we're seeing these things, the Funko partnership, we're seeing the physical comics, we're seeing all these things. We saw the Baba thing, we saw the VEVE, that South Korean partnership. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes also that we're not seeing. And all these things that we weren't expecting. I'm sure in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to get more partnerships out of the blue, like Funko. And so, to me, I believe that they are executing. You know, and that brings, in light of that, I'm going to put on, so I saw my man's, my collectibles. It was great to see him, but he had this, I bookmarked this because I agree with it. So just to, he basically, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but all these things, if these things happened in a bull market, it'd be huge news. All of these would, you know, be garnering a lot more attention. And if you're familiar with markets, in a bull market, it kind of shrugs off fear, and, you know, it'll shrug off the, you know, the negative news gets brushed aside and things pump anyway because there's so much liquidity and money. In a bear market, any news doesn't move the market. It shrugs off. Bear markets shrug off the news. All right. You see that in traditional assets. You see it in, if you look at it with even everything going on in crypto. Visa is partnering with Solana for cash settlement. That's huge. eBay is building a stable coin on, I believe it's Matic or Ethereum. That's huge. All these major financial institutions, Fidelity, all these players are making moves for the future and integrating crypto. And the bear market shrugs them off because that's what the bear market does. And I feel like you're seeing that at play here as well. Funko partnership, Fidgetals, all these things that VeVe's doing, shrugged off. To me, that speaks to market conditions, lack of liquidity. And when I look at what I expect, what I want them to do, it's to build and do these things. And my expectation is, you got to be patient. I got to, you know, I don't expect this market to turn around, specifically in digital collectibles. I don't expect it to turn around anytime soon. OMI will come around sooner, in my opinion. OMI's going to pump first because this is the way that markets work. And we see that OMI has, it seems like it's bottomed out. 0005. We could revisit that level. But remember how much FUD there was around the token, and a lot of people were seriously considering if it was dead. And it's up nearly 100% from its low, right? Yesterday it was at 00092. Today it dipped back 0008, high eights. That's well above the 0005 that it was at. Bronze tickets will come out next. That'll give it some traction, give it real utility, give people confidence that they're moving on the Omi side of things. We're not far from the halving. 6 months, not a long time. Bitcoin ETF, and hopefully we get that next crypto bull run as expected. And Omi's going to move first, in my opinion. And then I would expect money arbitrage to be played and money funnel back into digital assets. Now, the other thing with VEVE and why I think it's well positioned for next cycle is because so many people got burnt in NFTs, PFPs, small projects that were real, like legit scams. And VEVE boasts licensed IP. And you see people, some people taking notice in the bear market. Von Doom, other people who are more in that space, in the Web3 space. And the licensed digital collectibles narrative, to me, will be strong next cycle. But Omi, I think, is going to move first. And I think Omi's going to do well if they continue to deliver. The founder of Funko, Michael, was there, and the vice president of Marvel was there as well. Oh, I didn't even see the. Thanks, Mark. I didn't see the vice president of Marvel there. That shows you also how strong that partnership is with Marvel. I know it's an exclusive deal. I would expect different product lines to come out with Marvel, maybe trading cards or something at some point, because they're going to exhaust the catalog of statues, collectibles, and comics, FAs. And so for that partnership to be, remain viable and vibrant and everything, and for them to, they're gonna have to deliver more product. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of that is like cards, digital cards, gaming cards, something like that. But to see the vice president of Marvel, and we saw the picture with him and Dave that Dave had posted. Thanks, Mark, for bringing this up. That he was at the Thursday night party, along with the Funko guy. There were some other people there as well. So all that stuff points to bigger partnerships down the line and bigger developments down the line. And I don't think we'll see them for some months, but just like we weren't expecting the Funko thing, I think we're going to get blindsided by these other things. And I think that's where they've learned a bit from their past mistakes where they overhyped and underdelivered. Now they're just dropping this news. And I think that's healthier and better. So they've made mistakes in their communication in the past. I like the fact that they're just dropping things on us now. And it's hard to be patient, especially when we're so zoned in. But I think that there are going to be more announcements, more partnerships, more things that we don't expect. Because, and it's funny, I was just talking to my collectibles about the variant covers, physical covers, a week before. And I was talking about how dope that would be. And, imagine if they could, and that could be utility if you hold a secret rare and now they print that secret rare variant cover and give people who own the secret rare access to it. And it's limited to the same number of the secret rare digital. A lot of possibilities there, right? And then if those things catch fire, because now it's ironic because then people are going to be trading those on eBay, right? And if those catch fire and physical collectors take notice, over time, maybe you get that transition. And that's where that comes from. But I also think that Omi doing well and another crypto cycle and Omi doing well will be bullish for VeVe because Omi is a conduit to VeVe, and a lot of people who, like me myself, I found VeVe through Omi, and I'm more on the Omi side of things. But that's how I found VeVe. People are going, when people look at top trending coins, you know, look at coin market cap, and if VeVe is moving, it's one of the big movers of the day. And there are people who track those things. They're going to say, what is Omi? Because at a $300,000, $400,000 market cap, I think it's like 300,000 right now. It's not small. But outside of the community, it's still pretty unknown. And so that's also something to consider when we talk about what plagues things right now. I believe it's liquidity. I got a new member. FA first appearance. Thank you. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate all you guys who support the channel and are channel members and support the work. I try to put out content and, you know, put in work for you guys. So I appreciate the support. So thank you and welcome. Poppy in the house, Bull Squad. He's also a channel member. What's good, Poppy? Thanks for coming through. QR codes are coming. Goofy, hey, Danny, great work, my man. What do you think about marketing strategy, silent exposure, planting the seed before global marketing? Yeah, I think this is the right way. So marketing takes different forms. You can pay, and I'm not like a marketing expert, so please take this all with a grain of salt. But, you know, like there's like this silent marketing where it's just like, you know, Marvel tweeting things out and Louis Vuitton and maybe exposure through places like Coin Market Cap, right? And we saw that with the Lamborghini drop. I think that's the way for this market. Paid marketing, advertising is a waste of money in a bear market, in my opinion. Goes back to surviving a bear market and not burning through funds. You're going to have way less revenue, way less cash to spend, much more cash strapped. And so it's wasteful to spend it on marketing that may not be fruitful because of the market conditions. And so I like what they're doing with, you know, Marvel and the videos and things like that. I do think that's the right way. Plant the seeds, get exposure, and long-term, you know, expand it. Aldous in the house. Awesome getting to hang at the con. Excited. Absolutely. I met Aldous at the Thursday night party, got to chat for a while. Was one of the people that I was referring to earlier when I talked about people who are mostly, you know, behind the scenes, just kind of like collecting. They're quiet. They're not on Twitter making a lot of noise. They're not engaging in the arguments. They're just collecting, and they're just buying Omi, and they're just waiting, and they're quieter, but they're there. So it was great to meet you as well. And I love getting all these different perspectives from different people. And again, meeting you guys. Common Club for SoCal. That's on. Yeah, the bots come out, and they've gotten better with bots. Bots are bittersweet because if there weren't bots, that'd be a problem because that means that we're not successful. Because in this industry, in any collectibles industry, baseball cards, whatever, the more successful something is and the faster it sells out, the more the bots are attracted to it because that's a cash cow. And so it sucks to lose to bots. But unfortunately, it's a necessary, it's a part of the game. MCP points will help with that, the ability to spend them. So hopefully the waitlist gets fixed, MCP gets rolled out in full. And SoCal has been pessimistic lately. I see you, SoCal. He says VeVe's going to miss the next bull run. We'll find out. I'm someone who listens to all perspectives, and I can see different things playing out. I don't think VeVe misses the next bull run. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. I don't think Omi misses the next bull run. I questioned it. So before they introduced any utility, and I said this a couple months back for Omi, if they didn't release any utility and we got closer and closer to the halving, then I could see a case where Omi vastly underperforms other altcoins. And they're being, what's that called? Opportunity cost holding it. But the fact that they got out that first bit of utility, and now it seems very clear that bronze tickets are next, I no longer have a fear that Omi will miss the next bull run. Perhaps it doesn't reach, blow through all-time highs. We'll see how that plays out. But a 10x back to 008, I don't think will be an issue if the whole market does what it's supposed to do. 20x, I think will play out. I think that if Omi does that, VeVe will definitely be successful because all the Omi homies are going to funnel that money back into VeVe and vice versa. So you've got this liquidity on both sides, right? If Omi is successful, I don't see VeVe not being successful, and vice versa. If VeVe is successful and keeps building, and they keep building on the Omi side, then Omi's going to be naturally successful. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's important to be mindful of the possibility and diversify. If you're in it, right? If you're in VeVe for money, understand it's, everything is risky. The whole space carries risk. But I don't think that it will miss the next bull run. Do you think for the wait list being buggy, that could have been a bot protection feature? I don't know. Because they canceled it and rescheduled it. So I don't know what it was. I would think not, because if it's a bot protection feature, it's going to protect people from the bots and still execute as expected. So if it was a bot protection, then it failed, right? Because I think the point of that is to block the bots or weed them out, but still allow the right people access. So maybe it's that feature that was buggy. Could be. Could be that feature that was buggy. Yeah. So I agree with you, actually. Because you're right. It only happens when there's a big drop. But they need to get that fixed, right? Because that needs to work flawlessly so that it weeds out bots, but at the same time allows people to get them. I agree with your comment. They're strategically letting others talk about them whilst they perfect the app. They know what they are doing because they know the end result. It's frustrating to be outright lied to repeatedly and expect a different result. So I would agree that it was and I voiced a lot of these frustrations early on. It was very frustrating when they promised things in 2021 and then were nowhere near delivering. They've since changed their communication style and have underpromised. And they've since hit a cadence of deliveries. So I agree that there was a time when things were very frustrating. However, I don't agree that now is like before, and I do think that they've adjusted. Um, Coffeezilla clickbaiting, it's clear. Yes, that's what Coffeezilla does, and his whole thing with Logan Paul is ongoing and will continue. Ben Contenzi has been selling Omi since 2021. I'd be surprised if he still has it. He said that. I don't know if you can take him at his word, but he said that he still has supposedly like 12 billion or something. Let me skip down and get some people. The latest Ron English drop was disturbing. I think you're referring to the comic. I didn't see it, but I saw a lot of dope pictures there, Justin, of people posting what the comic looked like. The inside. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Yeah, so I saw this today. So, Cal, I'm going to do some research on this and perhaps get back into it. A clown baby with 666 and an alien with hard nipples. It's out of pocket. That's fine. It's Ron English. And it was great seeing Ron English at the Thursday party. Cool guy, chill, low-key. Uncle Mish talking about fans at the booths. My first time at a Comic-Con, and what I saw was the overwhelming amount of stuff to buy. Yeah. A lot of stuff. He says people really had interest in VeVe. Yeah. And I think most of the VeVe people went on Thursday and Friday. So I saw a lot of people at the con. I saw My Collectibles there. I saw Sanjay. But a lot of people went on Thursday and Friday because they had to get out during the weekend. So the con is crazy packed. Well over 100,000 people there at once. I'd say like 150,000. It's crazy packed and crowded. Artists are always a bit weird. Yo, what's up? Jordan Riz in the house. What's good, Jordan? Why does non-English use the Disney D in his font? It is proud. I do not know. I'm going to go through a couple more of these. Maybe I'm going to jump to, before I get back into this chat, I think I had some more book tweets here that I wanted to go into. This is the Coffeezilla. If you didn't see this, this is Ben Akomi communicating allegedly. I'll see if Monday works. Just heading to the track today. They're talking about the podcast that's going to pump the token. Is the podcast on today? And if so, where do I find? We'll be on YouTube. I'll send you the link once it's up. I'll be pushing it hard on my socials as well. So this is what goes on behind the scenes. And it's important to be mindful of this stuff. So you don't get trapped. And hopefully everyone is now better prepared for the next. I thought I was sharing my screen. Sorry, I was reading this. This is the correspondence between Ben and Logan's team about pumping the token. What else we got here? Living Aloha. If you don't follow Living Aloha on Twitter, do it. He posts good data on wallets, on sales data, on VeVe. Let me see if there's anything else. This was interesting from Cointelegraph. Funding in the crypto industry hit a rough patch, but this is what VC funding in Q1 and Q2 went towards in 2023. And you see 25% of VC funding is going into Web3, almost 10% into NFTs. People are building behind the scenes. There's a lot of money still working behind the scenes. And that shows you that there are a lot of people who believe in this space. So next cycle, when it starts, we should have VeVeVerse implementation finally. Omi will have more utility. And then they can start getting it listed on major exchanges. And fundamentally, the token and VeVe should be well positioned. All right. And bear markets suck and they're hard to get through. But that's exactly what you want to see, is being well positioned. Got 70 people still up in here. If you haven't hit the like button, make sure you do. We've been on for about an hour and a half. I am going to go through a few more in the chat, and then my voice is getting tired and I got a barbecue. So we got Energy up in here. What's up, Energy? SoCal comics are dominating compared to collectibles. Yeah, and I think that's partly due to the price, $7. And so, which is why I'd also like to see the prices come down a little on the collectible side. End one takes a long time to create something, but a second to destroy it. They have to change the name of Comey. I'm not sure. People have said that. I don't know. I think it's, people will find it. Look at, there's Cardano is the blockchain, ADA is the token. People will be, find it and be fine. Decentraland, Mana. They don't all match. And so I think it'll be fine. Do you think OMI token could be used down the line for other projects in Web3 space? I think that other smaller projects will use OMI, like we saw with the games. But I think they're going to do that to capitalize on the community, to leverage, to try to, win over the community and take advantage of the community, the strength of the community. I don't think like well-established brands and stuff or, projects will use OMI, but who knows? There could be a number of partnerships that develop. And I know that David had talked about that 2 years ago. He talked about OMI being used in other places. And, they do have an ability to develop partnerships. And we see that with Funko and all these other things. It's one of their strengths is developing partnerships. So I wouldn't be shocked if, they partner with other projects to use OMI, specifically on IMX. Right? So it's a cliche, and we say we're early, and it's almost like a joke, but the whole space, we really are early, even in terms of Bitcoin's narrative and long-term development, early. So, we'll see how it develops. Trading on eBay won't matter. We heard all that with IMX and OpenSea, all just BS. Doesn't help use case if no interoperability. I'm sick of partnerships, no IP. But the thing is that, in a bear market, they're not going to do anything. Those things will matter in a bull market. It's like building out the infrastructure for long-term growth. And, we see, so remember that a lot of these collectibles were $50, $60, $80, went up to like thousands, crashed down to Tada's like 600. That could just be a higher low, right? If a new cycle happens and things go back up, you're going to look back and say, Todd was at a higher low at 600, right? If that plays out, we'll find out. I believe the dedicated team for OMI is bullish. This will seem slow until it gets seemingly fast. Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. I think that things come together fast and move fast. Thoughts on Doctor of Stuff saying OMI could hit $1 to $5 next bull run. Yeah, I love Doctor of Stuff. Great guy. I agree with a lot of what he says. I don't think there's any way possible that Omi hits $1 to $5 next bull run. I don't think that's remotely possible at all. I don't think it's possible for it to really hit $1 anytime soon. Even next cycle, I think that would be a stretch. For Omi to hit $1, they'd have to burn like 99% of circulating supply. And they've burnt almost nothing of the circulating supply, let alone 99%. And the higher it goes, the slower the burn. Once those burning mechanisms kick in, it either needs a 99% burn or a crazy market cap, like $1 trillion or hundreds of billions of dollars. I think that's nowhere near $1 to $5 anytime soon. I'm going to make a video about my price, what I think could be realistic in different scenarios. I'm going to try to get it out next week, depending on news and things like, what other things happen if I have to cover them. Sandbox. People forget that Web3 development is known for delays. Yeah, and it's not only Web3, it's also regular tech is known for delays. Even Apple products, Tesla products, those are on a much bigger scale, obviously, but even the best tech companies sometimes fall behind by years. End of the day, just eventually executing is what matters. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Omi price again next video. Yeah, I agree with this also. The Coffeezilla thing is kind of like, I'm talking about it now because it just came out and it's interesting to talk about. But I think people are going to forget about it. And it's going to just be a footnote. Coffeezilla just reaching at this point, 3 to 5 cents. Let's see what else we got here. I think I'm going to end right here, an hour and a half. I want to thank you all for coming through and chilling with me on this Sunday afternoon, spending some time. If I met you in real life, it was a pleasure. Loved meeting everyone. Hopefully I get to meet many of you guys at another event. I'll catch you guys this week with some videos. I'm going to try to stream twice. I'm also working on getting some pretty cool people on the channel. But thank you all for coming through. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.